Robby D and the lesser known.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Robby D and the Lesser Knowns. I am your expert host, Robby D. Well, what am I an expert of? How about every episode of Seinfeld and The Simpsons, the first 10 season? The other ones don't count. With me, as always, today is my good friend, producer Will.
Hello.
Oh, crap. I just revealed the guest again if you're watching the video. Man, I'm not very good at that. But you know what? We'll unpin the video. There's producer Will. Well, let's just get to it since people watching. It's also a reminder, we are on YouTube in case you guys want to check out our faces while we're saying these amazing things you're hearing through your car radio or wherever you're listening to the podcast. But let's move on because today it's a special day. Our guest needs no introduction, but he does need one because you don't know who he is. He's been in a lot of great TV shows. He's a writer. He's a producer. He's a former D1 football star. He also starred in one of the leading roles in one of the greatest feature films made in the 2010s decade, Bullfrog, Bullfrog. My friend, Alvin E. Cowan.
Hey. Good to see you, Robby, producer Will.
Hello, Alvin.
Looking good, buddy. Loving the hair. What does E mean? We're debating that. Is it Einstein?
Ethelbert. Yeah, Ethelbert. It's a family name. Apparently, there's some relationship to some Egyptian king way back, but it's a family name. I'm actually the fourth.
Woo, king. We have royalty on the show. That's a first, right, producer Will?
The king or a pharaoh?
Like wow.
That's its origin, Robby. I'm not related to him.
Wow. Well, you know what? Origin, relationship, same thing where I come from. But we might defer all of our smart questions to you, Alvin, because you are a graduate of Yale University, where you were a D1 football quarterback starter for 2 years, I believe. How was that experience? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Austin, Texas, which is a big, in a big football city and a big football community. And our famous alumni from my high school are Drew Brees and Nick Foles. So we had some pedigree there. And actually, Yale was not where I wanted to go. Like most kids in Texas, I wanted to be a Longhorn. But I didn't really get that opportunity. So I ended up at Yale, and I played there for 4 years, and it was a hell of an experience. I did not enjoy the cold, but otherwise it was great.
Well, at some point in that amazing story there, Alvin, you made the transition from athlete to actor. And you moved out to Los Angeles. What year did you come out to LA?
Oh, gosh. Well, it wasn't immediate. Let's see. That was 2005. And then I spent a year running around Eastern Europe. I lived in Romania for 8 months and Albania for 3 months before. See, in Albania, this is kind of an interesting story. In Albania, I was selling advertising time for what amounts to CNBC Europe. And that's kind of where I got involved in understanding production and entertainment. That was kind of my first experience. But in Albania, there's not a whole lot of difference between private industry, government, and organized crime. And we got involved in selling to a couple of different industries, and I was working with some Italians, and at one point we kind of got a subtle threat from one of the elements of the organized crime units, and my Italian friends were like, this is just how business is done, no problem. And I was like, nope, not for me, I'm out. So I bounced, and at the time I had a girlfriend who was in LA finishing up a master's at USC, and it was kind of like move back to Austin, 3 kids, white picket fence and a dog, or go see what's in LA. And I visited her for about a week, and 2 days later, I had packed all my shit and was driving out to LA in the U-Haul, kind of the classic story, not really knowing what I was going to do. And so when I got here, I had that little bit of production experience, and so I ended up getting a few PA jobs, and one of the PA jobs was on a Best Buy commercial that Matt Jones was the star of. If you know who Matt Jones is, he played
the quarterback at Arkansas.
His name was, no, he played Badger or Squirrel on Breaking Bad, the kind of stoner guy. Badger, is that what his name was? Yeah. And I was talking to him on a break about, I was kind of interested in acting, and I was talking to him on a break, and he was like, yeah, man, it's really easy. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm getting paid $30,000 today. Like, it's really great. Acting is the best. It's so easy. And I was like, really? Like, I'm getting paid $150 today. and so I was like, well, if it's easy, I guess I'll try it. And then I signed up for an acting class the next day on Matt Jones' recommendation. I haven't talked to him since, so thank you, Matt Jones, if you hear this. I guess that would have been about 2006. And so I've been in LA for better part of 14 years. And that was the beginning of the acting journey, which continues today.
Nice. Good old Matt Jones.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Matt Jones.
But Matt Jones must have known he was talking about Alvin, because you got some pretty big bookings on your sheet, my friend. One that stands out to me, I know there's a little bit of backstory here I'd love to share for the auditioning process. I mean, of course, you booked the small parts here and there as you got started in your career, but eventually it led to a Westworld booking. But you weren't traditionally called in for Westworld. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Can you tell us about that experience?
I kind of took it upon myself to figure out ways into audition rooms, and as is the case with a number of actors, I had a buddy who had access to the breakdowns, and he he got me an audition for Pasadena, really on a pitch from his email account that was kind of almost like a burner email account. He had created this fake management email account and pitched me to Pasadena to get me in the room, and I booked it, which was a huge booking because, again, it kind of got me back in the game. I not excuse the pun because that was the name of that show, but I kind of run my course with that showrunner and done those bookings, and kind of that cycle had finished. And so
I was fairly certain you were gonna not tell the real story, so kudos to you, good sir. I thought you were gonna switch it up to make yourself sound more innocent.
I mean, I didn't do it. He pitched me. I just booked it. I'm not guilty. If he's guilty, not me.
Hey, look, an audition showed up in my inbox. I did the best of my ability. What do you want me to do?
That's right. Yeah. I mean, hell, if I can walk in the room, I'm going to walk in the room, you know?
So we watched the episode. You're in season 2. You're in a couple episodes. You're in 3, I think, right? 3 or 4?
Yeah.
And you were, a lot of your scenes were filmed on horseback, my friend.
Yeah.
Had you ever ridden a horse before that?
Well, there's a couple of Hollywood stories around horseback riding, and I mean, growing up in Texas, I had been on a horse before. I'd be hard pressed to say like I would call myself an intermediate rider. Like I can get on a horse, I can ride it, I can do it in a way that it's not terribly dangerous. But if you're asking me to do crazy stuff on it, then I'm out. And it just so happened that there was one particular scene in the Westworld, in one of the episodes where I was kind of riding up with, my posse, if you will, to kind of, in what ultimately ends up starting a gunfight with Rufus, who was one of the lead characters. And normally in those situations, you just scoot the horse back 10 feet and ride to the mark, and then But for whatever reason, the director wanted, kind of a long shot from 100 yards back. Well, I'm riding with this group of stunt riders. I mean, these dudes are real riders, like they know that they're riding up to the mark and they're getting shot and falling off horses and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, And so when you get in a pack of stunt riders and, they want to ride, like they love, that's their thing. And so we're in the middle of this forest in Santa Clarita, and like, Robby, I kid you not, the path is probably 10 feet wide, and we're running through this path with like 15 horses and 15 guys on horseback. And then I'm trying to hit a mark and act, right? And so like we do it the first time, and we like it was just me, like literally holding on to the the horn of the horse, like just hoping to live. and then we hit the mark, and I said my line, but that was about all I could do, and the director comes up, they cut, and the director comes up to me and he's like, hey, I think we need, a little more behind this, and we need, I don't know, and he gives me this note, and I'm sitting there thinking, bro, I just rode 100 yards on a full speed gallop through 10 foot, forest, hit a mark, and then you want me to act? Like if you want the acting shot of it, just scoot me back 3 feet and let me hit the mark and do the acting, So ultimately, we got what we needed, but it was pretty harrowing experience to be riding with stunt riders. And it's happened twice. The first thing I ever did in Hollywood was a reenactment of a Civil War thing, and I was charging down a hill with Civil War reenactors on a horse. Lucky I didn't die in that situation too. So I can ride a little bit, but you put me on a horse with stunt riders and I'm out,
That's a fantastic story. I mean, like I remember I did the same thing with pole vaulting, because I pole vaulted in high school, and I got to LA and I filled out did you really? How hig'd you go?
Yeah. I was in 8th grade, so I guess it wasn't high school. I think I was a little over 9 feet, nine feet-ish.
That's not bad.
I retired when I
seventh grader. Oh, I miss. The worst is when you go backwards. I remember in high school I switched from a 12-foot pole to a 14-foot pole, which is obviously a lot longer. So you got to be going a lot faster and commit a lot harder to get up and over the bar. My first 3 just get to the top and you just go backwards, and it's 14 feet, but you're hanging on to a pole, and once you start to realize you're not going to make it, you can kind of slide down the pole like a fireman, but you still kind of fall. It's not fun. But yeah, my senior year I went 14.6, and I was very disappointed in that. It's not good.
What is that, like 2 feet short of the Olympics right there, right?
Sergei Babka went 21 feet. That's the world record, I believe, but it's probably been beaten by now. The point of this, Sergei Babka is the man, bro. The point of the story was when I first got here, I filled out all the forms on LA Casting. Of course, I clicked pole vaulting. I was like, yeah, I can pole vault. I was 25 when I did that, and I was 18 when I graduated high school, obviously. And my third audition ever in LA was pole vault. And I remember I was sitting there, and I showed up, and I was like, fuck, what am I doing here? But my agent was like, you got to go, of course, because I clicked it on the thing. I didn't want to piss him off. I'm new to LA. I don't want to, I just want to make myself look good. Get the audition, and I'm talking to the first guy I'm talking to. I'm like trying to assimilate and just be cool and be like, hey man, so how long has it been since you pole vaulted? Like a couple of years or whatever. He's like, no, I'm captain of the USC pole vaulting team. And I was like, cool. And so, and then the director was like, I took my, everyone else, when pole vaulting, you have steps. Everyone had their steps measured. I hadn't done mine in a year, so I measured my own steps on the runway, which made me look really rookie. And then I didn't have a pole. So the guy from USC let me borrow his pole. And I was like, hey, everyone else brought their own pole. And I was like, wow, you motherfuckers are really serious about pole vaulting, because I felt like an idiot. But I was just laughing because it's like, yeah, I could ride a horse. And it's like, good, you're going to do stunt level horse riding. But I digress. That's a fantastic story. I do want to move on to another really popular show you booked.
Sure.
And I want to make sure you had a legitimate audition for this one. This is us. You had a multi-episode guest star there. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was a legitimate booking. By that point, I had found a new agency. In fact, the agency that I'm still with, and they do a great job for me. But that was one of the early auditions with them, and yeah, I booked. I think we did 4 episodes of that. It was what was really cool about that was it was I think it was either season 2 or I think it was season 3 actually. It was the flashback scenes in Vietnam. Yeah, season 3. Flashback scenes in Vietnam, which were special episodes for that particular show. It was kind of the first time that they went back into Milo's backstory. And you know, there was some Easter eggs there that were revealed. I think they were. I think the really cool thing about those episodes was they were written or co-written by Dan Fogelman, the showrunner's kind of writing hero, a guy named Tim O'Brien, who wrote a Pulitzer Prize-winning book called The Things They Carried. And they brought him in as I think a consulting producer and a writer on those episodes. Yeah, there you go.
Wait, hold on.
Literally one of my favorite books of all time.
Go, producer Will. Can you show the people at home?
Yeah, this is the book. It's truly one of my top 10 books of all time. Brilliant novel. I didn't know that he wrote that episode. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he wrote all of them. All of the Vietnam episodes he was I think either co-wrote with Dan or wrote himself or they took. Huh? Have
you read this one, Alvin?
I read it after he was on after. So the long and short of it is that Tim is from Austin. And lives in Austin, and he and I hit it off. And now when I visit Austin, I call him up, and I've gone over and we've had, you know, wine at his house, and he's told me kind of his whole writing journey. And he's I would consider him a friend now. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, the interesting part of those episodes is that Tim was involved in writing them. In fact, I think The Things They Carried, Will, is going to be a movie. I saw Tom Hardy signed on to it. It's got a hell of a cast.
It's in like the pre-production, like they're signing people. It's hands down the best book on the Vietnam, like the experience of a soldier in the Vietnam War. And I mean, it speaks like all soldier, but specifically Vietnam era. And anyone the book, highly recommend.
Yeah. And so he was there on set, and then those were really cool episodes. And I think the thing, you know, as far as celebrities go, been around a few, and I wish, you know, you hear stories about all their different personalities and character traits and all those kinds of things, but Milo is annoyingly nice. I mean, the guy, I wish there's not a bad thing you can say about that guy. I mean, he's just a great dude. You know, he gave me his phone number, you know, said stay in touch, like, just a really, for as famous as he is and as much success as he's had and all of those things, like sometimes I think that can go to people's heads, but man, he's just a really good dude, and was really great to us on that set. We had some, you know, I mean, it's why you sign up for this. I mean, they put us in a period piece, and we did before we actually shot. They did us 2 days of like Army guns basic training, and at that point, I didn't even, honestly, I didn't watch the show a ton, and I didn't know who Milo was, and he showed up at that, and we were like going through like basic training together, and like learned how to like march and learned how to like shoot the guns that we were, you know, using, and learned how to carry the gear and all of those different things. We were crawling in fields, you know, being trained by these old Army guys, of how to make it look authentic. And then and those guys ended up being extras in a lot of those scenes. So it was cool, man. They built a huge set out on Lake Piru, way out in kind of Santa Clarita area, and we got to ride in a Huey. I mean, it's just all the things that you sign up for the acting gig for, is like when you get to play with, you know, cool stuff like that. So no, that was a fun job. That was a really, really fun job. And Milo being such a good dude really is also kind of what made that so much fun, because sometimes, you know, those stars can be assholes, and then it's just a tough work experience. But he was certainly not.
Well, we here on RDLK love to highlight when celebrities are real, genuine human beings and not douchebags. So thank you for sharing that story. But I'm glad you had fun talking about that, because this next segment is not fun. It's the opposite of fun. And it's one thing we here really love to show the people at home, that while you've had a lot of success, you've also had some pretty crappy moments happen to you. And I think you know which story I'm going to like to talk about next. And that's your amazing, life-changing booking role on American Sniper, the Bradley Cooper film.
Yeah, that was also a legitimate audition, I will say. So, in fact, I would argue that Westworld may be my only illegitimate.
Yeah,
I was going to say, so far your percentage.
One, not illegitimate, but less legitimate audition. I mean,
Sure.
Pristine, just one.
All right, you know the rule. You know the rule. And you fuck one goat. That's all it is.
You can build a million bridges, but you fuck one goat.
Yeah.
Bridge builder.
Yeah.
All right, but tell us about that.
And so I was fired up, you know, Bradley Cooper, Clint Eastwood, like, hell yeah. Like, and I remember the day I shot, you know, it's funny when you're green, because, you know, it's such a big deal to you, but for a guy like Clint Eastwood, who's done, you know, 100+ movies, like, it's just another day at work. Right. And so I shot my scene, and I never really got to interact much with Bradley Cooper between action and cut. But, I waited around afterwards, because, you know, Eastwood's a hero, of mine. And I just wanted to say, you know, hey, thanks, or whatever. And he went in his bus for like an hour, and I was waiting around after I had shot my thing. And I think people were kind of like, get out of here, dude. But he finally came out, and I'll never forget that I said, hey, Mr. Eastwood, you know, just wanted to thank you. Like, it was a really great experience. And he kind of got that dirty, hairy look, and he goes, yeah, it was a great moment. And that was it. That was all I got from Eastwood. I was like, all right, cool, thanks, man. But I think what you're referring to is in the final cut.
I'll take this next part. So you filmed it. You're in a scene with Bradley Cooper, and guess what?
Yeah.
Everyone was excited to go to the movie theater to watch your scene take front and center. How excited were you to show your family your hard work on the big screen?
I got a letter from Eastwood and his producing partner, and they said, you know, before the premiere of the film, we just wanted you to know that we're really sorry, but we had to cut your scene from the film. And so you're not in the final cut, which, first of all, I think is really cool, because I still have that letter. And they, you know, in Hollywood, that never happens. Like, they don't tell you that you're not in the movie. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have like hired PR agents, you know, to help them promote their part in a film. And then, you know, they go to the premiere, and they're not even in the movie, you know? So I thought that was really cool that they gave me a heads up beforehand, and I still got invited to the premiere. And then, but I did get cut out of the final film, that little small scene. But you kind of understand why when you see the movie. It would have slowed down the pacing of it. And back to my football coaching days, as I mentioned, that I had met a few people in entertainment. So fast forward, the film's come out, it's been 2 years, it's done its whole run, it's, you know, the box office thing. And I knew a lady whose son I had coached in football, who was president of distribution at Warner Brothers. And I emailed her, and she went into the archives, or got somebody to go in the archives for me, and dug up my scene and sent it to me as kind of a gift for coaching her kid. Her kid was a senior and had graduated, and moved on, and so that was really cool too. So at the end of the day, like, I mean, a scene with Bradley Cooper, a day on set with Bradley Cooper and Clint Eastwood, and then ultimately I got my footage and I got to go to the premiere, like made a little money too. Like, come on, like that's there's a lot of people who I think have a lot worse getting cut out of things stories. But
are you allowed to post that footage anywhere, or is it kind of just done on anonymity?
I was allowed to put it on my reel,
Okay.
which lives on the internet somewhere. But yeah, it was not for distribution. Let's put it that way.
Wow. You made your own movie. You cut together your own scene. Awesome, Alvin.
Right.
Pretty cool stories, man. I'm excited to talk about this next one, though, even more so. And this is what we like to call the shameless plug hour. Just kidding. Actually, not shameless at all, because I've actually am a listener to the next topic. If I may, Alvin is a producer / writer, amongst many other people, for an amazing podcast, 7-part series, I believe, called American Coyote.
Yeah.
Alvin, you mind telling us a little about the podcast and your role in it?
Yeah, well, a number of years ago, I kind of started writing too. I think that's kind of part of the gig, I guess. At this point, is you kind of gotta kind of do it all. And I came upon this story in GQ magazine, this article in GQ magazine about this guy named Eldon Kidd, who essentially was a Mormon dude in Riverside who ended up making his living by running people across the border. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I reached out to Eldon, and he was like, yeah, come down, have lunch. So drove to Riverside, and Eldon and I had lunch, and by the end of it, he was like, yeah, I think I'd like you to tell my story. And originally I was trying to do it as a film and a TV series, but there's a TV series in Paramount that's kind of along the border with some pretty high profile people, Michael Chiklis involved. And so we ultimately, the team and I kind of turned it into a podcast, and it's been really cool. I mean, Eldon's story is pretty unique. I mean, he kind of fell into running people across the border as a way to kind of make ends meet for his family. Ended up, spending some time in prison. And I won't spoil the ending, but he has an interesting kind of full circle way of how he kind of comes all the way back around to kind of working on the border. So, it's been a crazy thing to see. Podcasting, it seems, is kind of the new development. It seems like they're, taking writers and creating podcasts and content that people enjoy listening to. And that's kind of the way that they're developing TV shows and movies now. It's a lot cheaper to create a podcast than it is to develop a film. And if it finds an audience, then they make the movie of it, or they make the TV show of it, or they make the doc series or the documentary or whatever. And so we've had a pretty good run so far. I mean, we're only 4 episodes in, and I think it's doing pretty well. So everybody's pretty excited about it.
I'm not trying to make you sound cool, because usually I don't like anything you do. And I'm a big fan of this podcast, so I've listened to all 4. It's a weekly release, so I've listened to all 4 episodes. I'm anxiously awaiting episode 5 to find out what's going on. I won't say what's happening now, but I'll tell you what, really gripping from the first moment of the podcast starts. I actually I sat in my car the other day for 5 minutes waiting for the episode to end rather than parking and get out. As parked, I was like, damn it, I can't get out now. I got to know what happens. So I waited. And also,
that's a full-throated endorsement by Robby D right there.
Well, and here's number 2. This really isn't an endorsement as much as it is a, I don't know, maybe it's tooting my own horn or just the obvious nature of it. But I listened to all 4 episodes, right, and heard this guy talk. And if I were to make a police sketch drawing based off his voice, and then I looked him up, it would have been perfect. It would have matched perfectly. I could have told you exactly what this guy looked like. Basically, sometimes it's tricky. These little guys on the radio. Sometimes you see them, and you're like, "Oh, Jesus, that's your voice. You sound like you're 7 feet tall." Well, this guy, when I saw the picture, I was like, I fucking knew it. I knew it. Yeah. I knew it's exactly what he looked like. I won't say what he looks like. I want you to draw your own conclusion. But to toot my own horn, I was spot freaking on with what he looked like. So,
yeah. Eldon's a good dude. He's a charming man. I will say that about him. I sometimes I can't tell whether he's telling the truth or not, but he has a way about him, man. I don't know. He's just the only way to say it is he's really charming.
Well, obviously listen to every episode of RDLK podcast. And once you're done with that, go check out American Coyote. But I'm glad we talked about that segment, Alvin, because the fun time on this podcast is officially over. For you, my friend, are about to take one small step for yourself and one giant leap into disaster, because this next segment is called Method Acting. Hey, Alvin, what do you think of the music playing right now? Is it tension-filled enough for you?
Yes, it is, Robby.
Was it ready for you to be so prepared? Well, grab that seatbelt and let me see your improv space work as you buckle in. I think that was a good job. I'm not quite sure. Will, thumbs up, thumbs down? Oh, it gives it a medium. Okay, good. All right, Alvin, we have 3 questions for you. And if you can make it out alive, we'll both be very impressed. Be prepared for question 1. Okay, Alvin. In this scenario, the snacks are people. You are Eldon Kidd talking to movie snacks as he's sneaking them into the movie theater to save some dough.
All right, Mike, you and Ike are going to stand behind me. You got it? And tamales, red hot tamales. You're all the way in the back. You watch the 6, okay? So Mike, then Ike, then tamales. Don't mess it up. Okay, here we go.
Okay. That's not bad. I'm not going to lie. For a very dramatic actor, you, sir, have comedy chops. Hiya. All right. Here we go for question 2, Crandall.
You are Matt Jones selling advertising time in Albania to the criminal organizations.
Hey guys, so what's the deal? You gonna buy the ad time? Or you gonna buy the ad time? Get over here, and he'll take care of you.
And cut. Okay, he was smoking a cigarette. For those of you just watching, that wasn't heavy breathing. He was smoking, a character trait that I did not see coming. Well, Alvin, sure seems like you're doing good. But tell me if you can get past question 3. You are none other than Clint Eastwood, giving a pump-up talk to his high school football team full of losers to try and get them ready for the second half comeback.
Now you guys listen here. We don't accept losers here. The only thing that matters is winning. You understand? So go ahead and make my night.
Oh, we got a cut there. Wow. Okay. I noticed some beads of sweat forming there. For those of you just listening, I'll tell you what, he was not excited. But you pulled it off, buddy. That was pretty good stuff.
Not really
I don't know. My impressions, not my strong suit, my impressions.
Well, we didn't tell you. We had a ejector seat loaded in your chair right now. So if you'd have screwed up, all I had to do is hit the button. You'd have been flying out of the roof. Awesome, Alvin. Good stuff, man. Great stories, but we're going to get you out of here on the same question we ask all of our guests at the end of the interview, and that is, what would Alvin Cowan now tell Alvin Cowan just starting his journey in the entertainment business?
Ooh. It's a marathon, not a sprint. That would be the big thing. Is stay in there. Stay in the fight. As long as you're in the fight, you got a shot. That's really what it comes down to. Is as long as you're making stuff, as long as you're being creative, as long as you're happy, it doesn't really matter about the results of bookings and stuff. That stuff comes, but you just gotta keep moving forward. Keep going out for projects. Keep making stuff. Keep meeting people. Keep working on your craft. All of those things, because eventually it breaks. Eventually it breaks for everyone.
Yes, and keep making sentences as long as you possibly can as well. I love that. No, seriously, Alvin, great answer, and what a great interview today. We had a great time. Thank you so much for coming on. We wish you much success in the future. I'll probably see you soon, as you live right on the corner from me. But really appreciate you coming on the show. Producer Will,
Yes.
Fantastic job today, coming to us live from Washington, D.C.
Yes.
Want to give a shout out to the parents on this app?
Hello, everyone's parents. my parents are back there.
Yeah, your parents, dipshit. Tell them why you're there.
I'm here on the Navy base, and because my dad is in the Navy, so he's here working from home. What do you want me to say about them?
Isn't it their anniversary?
No, that was yesterday.
Well, I know, but you're there for the anniversary. You're here celebrating your.
It'll be over a week, but happy 34th anniversary, Mom and Dad.
It's amazing.
Well done, producer. Well done.
And it's stuff like that. You're wondering why we don't have any sponsors. I can't figure it out. This is crazy. One day we will. Well, great. I'll give a shout out to the Admiral and his first mate. Congratulations to the Crandall family. And Alvin, how did you have fun sitting through that ending here? Is the best outro we ever had on the show. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah, no worries, man. I enjoyed it. Everybody listen to American Coyote.
Yeah, just the standard podcast outlets.
Yeah, any place you listen to your podcasts.
Fantastic. Well, we'll definitely check that out. The RDLK wholeheartedly supports the work you're doing with American Coyote. Looking forward to episode 5 and completing the series. And I, of course, am your host, Robby D. Don't have to say it because you guys know I did a fantastic job. Also, this episode was not edited at all. What you heard is exactly how we recorded it in live time. Just remember that. And be sure to tune in next week when our guest will be none other than Mr. Clint Eastwood. So we're looking forward to having him on. That may or may not be true. There's only one way to find out, and that's tune in next week. Thanks for stopping in, guys. Bye-bye.
Robby D and the lesser knowns.
Nice.